There's no character the film community loves quite as much as Paddington Bear. It's hard to even deny such a fact. Ever since the first Paddington film released back in 2014, followed up by the smash hit sequel in 2017, this delightful little Peruvian bear has charmed and delighted the hearts of thousands of audience goers, with his positive outlook on life and polite demeanor. It's not even just the character that has captivated the minds and hearts of so many. The simple fact is that the Paddington films are legitimately incredible. Filmmaker Paul King showcases a maturity and depth that you rarely find in kids' entertainment, and each second of these films is filled with so much captivating humor and heart in each film. In fact, Paddington 2 was the highest rated film on Rotten Tomatoes at 100% until one negative review dropped it down a point in 2021. There's something so effortlessly endearing and charming about this bear in these films. I personally love both films, although the second is the clear frontrunner for me. These movies treat audiences, especially kids, as smart and mature, which is incredibly rare to find in most other kids' media. Oftentimes, filmmakers and artists feel like kids aren't smart enough, and that they have to somewhat dumb down the content to make it accessible and digestible to these younger audiences. However, Paul King challenges that notion with both of his Paddington films, instead treating these younger audiences as an intellectual equal to the older audience members, making these films so widely accessible and enjoyable. There has been a huge time jump since the release of the second Paddington film and this third movie, which is titled Paddington in Peru, which I was lucky enough to check out at an early screening today, a week before its release in the US. Filmmaker Paul King is not attached to the director's chair here, even though he retains story credit here. Instead, Dougal Wilson is behind the camera here, which has caused some fans of this series to become quite frightened at what the outcome of this film would be with the absence of King. However, I'm pleased to report that Paddington in Peru is a slam dunk, even with the absence of King, which really isn't very noticeable in the slightest. Dougal Wilson is extremely good at replicating King's distinct style for these films, down to camera movement and placement to the visual gags spread throughout. It's hard to even discern at parts that it's a different director here, which works to the film's credit. The movie once again follows Paddington Brown, the aforementioned Peruvian bear, who lives with his adoptive family in London, England. After he receives word that his beloved Aunt Lucy has gone missing from the home for retired bears in the Peruvian jungle, Paddington and his family set out on a globe-spanning adventure in a search for family and belonging. Ben Whishaw once again does fantastic voice work as the voice of Paddington here, as he did in the other films. Coupled with the expressive and layered CGI animation for the character, his performance makes for a seamless portrayal of the character that leaps off the screen and feels real. One of the most impressive things about these films is how you forget you're watching a CGI bear, as the way the character moves and interacts with his environment here is made all the more convincing and real by the supporting cast surrounding him. Speaking of the supporting cast, this movie is chock full of so many standouts that make the film so humorous and charming with ease. Hugh Bonneville continues to deliver such a comedically inclined performance as Mr. Brown as he has in the other two films, with his sarcastic wit and deadpan delivery working to portray a man who is very much out of his depth in the jungle environment, but loves Paddington and wants what's best for him all the same. Now, the absence of Sally Hawkins here as Mrs. Brown is somewhat noticeable at first, but for what it's worth, Emily Mortimer does fantastic work as a replacement, delivering such a heartfelt and charming portrayal. Perhaps, though, it's Antonio Banderas who really shines the most here. He portrays an enthusiastic and often eccentric ship captain whom Paddington and the Brown family enlist to take them on a journey to find Aunt Lucy, who starts to harbor some dark secrets of his own. But an interesting twist here, Banderas has to balance not just the central character he plays, but other characters as well, which he does great work with the humorous effect. Now, I won't get into the logistics or specifics of this element due to spoilers, but his performance or performances in this case are easily one of the highlights of this film. This is also the case with Olivia Colman, and delivers an effortlessly charming and hilarious performance as the Reverend Mother at the home for retired bears. While Colman is a fantastic dramatic actor, she also truly shines whenever she's handed comedic material, and here she definitely chews it up with ease. From going to parodying the sound of music in one scene to slight improv work at one moment, her character and performance keep the stakes consistent and embody so much of the film's quirky humor. Working hand in hand with the comedy elements, the film is an adventurous and effortlessly entertaining romp from start to finish. The interesting factor or thing when comparing this film to the other two Paddington films are how quick and entertaining this one is in comparison. It moves at such a brisk pace and has more in common with other similar adventure type films than the other Paddington films. However, here, that actually works to the film's credit. It allows this movie to stand apart from the other films and remain its own unique thing, which is awesome. It captures such an adventurous atmosphere, yet it also retains the charm and magic that made the other films work so well in the first place, and it never loses sight of the real heart of those films, which is the emotional core. Here, we're treated to such a poignant and affecting story about family and what it truly means. As we follow Paddington throughout the story, we see a character who is drawn back to his roots in a desperate struggle, searching to find his Aunt Lucy and return home. Yet he also grapples with his newfound love and sense of connection with the Brown family, and we as audiences watch as with Paddington, and to some extent ourselves, contemplate what truly makes a family in the first place. It's very much a film about finding your place in the world, and it's a centralized theme that so many people in the audience, as well as Paddington, can find and relate to. For the parents in the audience, it's also a film about your children growing up and going their own paths in life, as we watch as Mrs. Brown struggles with the thought of losing her grown-up children as they go off to college, but also of losing Paddington, as she fears he might want to remain with Aunt Lucy in the jungle once they reunite, and wonders whether they truly are the family Paddington deserves. All of these emotional angles build towards such a bittersweet and emotionally resonant conclusion that feels so authentic and grounded in execution. It perfectly encapsulates what works so well about these films, as it treats this ending with the seriousness and respect it deserves, making for a fond and heartfelt conclusion to the story of this little bear who made an impact on so many lives. I won't say outright that I cried early on a Saturday morning while watching this film, but I'm not going to deny that either. Overall, Paddington in Peru is the kind of rousing, striking, and charming family entertainment that feels lacking in most of the Hollywood industry in this day and age. Every moment of this is filled with such a vibrant and youthful energy, complemented by themes and messages that many will relate to. It's just such a fun time. It's stirring, entertaining, and gripping, while also containing that underlying magic that made the other previous installments work as well. While the film might not manage to reach quite as high as the second installment, which is an incredible and rare feat in and of itself, it manages to surpass the first film in order to deliver a satisfying entry and conclusion to this trilogy. I'd say give it a shot, and you might find yourself smiling from ear to ear as the credits roll. That's why I'm giving Paddington in Peru a 4 out of 5 stars. Paddington in Peru releases in theaters everywhere in the US February 14th. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this review on my channel. If you're new around here and you like the content you see, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below, like the video, and turn on push notifications. Also, leave comment suggestions down below for future video, essay, and review topics. With that being said, until next time, this is Mitchell signing off. Peace out.